we meet again.
First Sergeant!
How you doing?
How was the wrestling match?
So it was interesting. We had to kick a dad out for being too aggressive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just, it's a real thing. But yeah, it went well. It's youth wrestling, and I've been trying to get back into coaching.
What ages?
So
What,
I'm sorry.
What ages?
It is 4 years old to 6th grade. So
4 years. Wow.
yeah, it's a wide range. But it's it's pretty awesome. It's pretty rewarding seeing these kids. It's a tough sport.
It is a tough sport.
They duke it out. But
when I was growing up, we still had parents we had to throw out of games. I remember I was at a basketball game once, and I'm 60. So we're talking like 75, 76. I'm at a basketball game once, and his parent jumped out of the stands, 6 rows up, and stormed the court and grabbed the opposing player on the neck and took him to the ground.
Oh my gosh!
I'm like, holy crap! It was crazy. I'm like, then all the bleachers just emptied. And it was just nuts.
Yeah.
So it happened before, and it's happening. It happens all the time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
So.
It's just one of those things. I mean, it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of when.
Exactly. So you've been with us National Guard for how long now?
18 years.
Wow. So when you enlisted, what'd your mom say? Did you enlist in the military? Did you enlist National Guard the whole time, or?
National Guard the whole time. Mom was. I would say she was pretty worried because we were, global war on terror was just kicking off.
Exactly.
And, my friend, one of my best friends at the time, I always wanted to join the Army, but he joined, and I'm like, well, if you're going, I'm going. So he got back from basic training, and then I joined. And my dad was a Vietnam vet, and he was pretty upset that I joined the National Guard. We're very supportive, so that was interesting. But
it had to be.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you. Do me a favor. Thank your mom and dad for me.
I'll pray for my dad, and my dad passed away a few years ago.
I'm sorry.
But my mom's still around.
Well, thank her for me, because she raised a really great kid, and I told her tell her I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
That's why I asked the question, because parents go through a lot of hell sometimes when their children say they want to enlist.
Oh, absolutely. Three deployments, and all this stuff, and then just the fear of another deployment. She's always calling and asking, and I just tell her, I said, Mom, this is what I chose to do, and if the time comes and I got to do the thing, then so be it. And she's okay with it. But yeah, it's always on her mind. Always.
I know. I talked to many parents about that. So, all right. So the first wave back in 2020. What was your orders at that point? What happened, and so on and so forth? Let's get to the second wave after that.
First wave was initially the food bank mission.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. The that kind of coincided was the food bank and the prison mission with ODRC, Department of Corrections. So I was asked to be part of the food bank mission, and that was to distribute, work in with, because it's all volunteer based. So
right.
They had more volunteers, so we had to step in and get into the food banks and distribute food and package meals, cook meals for nursing homes and schools and just things that I had no idea that the food bank actually did. I thought it was just for homeless people, and they came and that's how small my brain was when it came to what the food banks actually did. And then our unit was called up to also do the ODRC mission, which was in jails and prisons, and you're a corrections officer. That's what you did.
Seriously?
Yeah, you were in there for a week's worth of training, and then you were transporting inmates. Some of the most dangerous inmates in Ohio.
And why they call the
and-
National Guard? Why they call it the Guardian for that? They ran out of people.
It was, I call it a staffing issue. So COVID would just run through, and then they were doing the contact tracing as well. So, everybody being so close to each other in proximity while you're working, and especially in the jails, one person popped for COVID. Well, they had you on video, like, oh, I was around this person, I was around this person. So everybody got quarantined.
Oh, wow.
Until their test came back, and then so on and so forth. So yeah, it decimated the ranks, and they needed help. So that's where we came in. That was
What prison? Hang on. What prisons did you go to?
Say again.
What prisons did you go to?
Me personally, I did not do that mission. I was the first sergeant, and I visited all of the troops in Mansfield, and from Cincinnati to Cleveland. We were in every ODRC, Ohio Department of Corrections facility from
so
north to south.
Lucasville and everything.
Oh yeah, yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So you directed the guys in your squad then to what they had to do, or what was your involvement with that then?
My involvement was direct. I was in like a headquarters setting, and just maintaining soldier morale, and making sure they needed what they needed. If they were quarantined, just managing personnel, for lack of a better word. What
were some of their stories as far as what do they need? What was their morale like, and so on and so forth?
Some really enjoyed the operation. Some hired on after the mission, actually got jobs to be corrections officers, and then some were just, I wouldn't say traumatized, but they were like, this is not for me. Like I can't do this. Being scared, it's and we had males and females doing it.
Wow.
So yeah, pretty much everything from like I'm really in fear for my life, because I don't have the proper training to handle inmates. This is great. I enjoy it. Kind of a sense of authority. They felt like they were doing it, the service to Ohio, to be called upon, and took some pride in it and did the job. And then others were like, this is not for engineers. This is an MP mission. This is, so any part of the spectrum you could have a soldier fall into, and, on a case by case basis, you just dealt with it. So me as a supervisor, as a first sergeant, that's my main job, is to take care of soldiers, their family needs, their needs. So, you just try to balance that the best you can, and not take it home at night.
When they went on this mission, did they stay down there in that area, or do they have to drive back home, or what?
Yeah, they stayed in hotels near where they were working, so they were displaced from their homes, and it's tough because you're in Ohio, and if you're from Cleveland and you're working down in Cincinnati at a facility down there, you stayed there for the mission duration, and you're talking 3, 4, 5 months that we were doing this, and then the food banks, a little less stressful, more of just a humanitarian aid, which was much more ideal for the soldiers. They really enjoyed it, and they were pretty much in the proximity of their home of record. So
okay,
it ran a little different. So it was a much more less stress mission than the ODRC, and the duration was a little bit longer too. It went on for almost a year and a half.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
So you oversaw both of those missions then with your group?
Yeah, so I was pulled to do the food bank mission directly, and then indirectly I dealt with the ODRC, and also the vaccine site at the Wolstein Center.
How was the the COVID going, did you see any problems or hear any problems about COVID going through the prison system? Because I heard about it, but I never heard about anybody directly.
Yeah,
Or to the inmates themselves.
the inmates themselves were getting, they were getting COVID. But it wasn't, I can't say the hospitalizations. I can't really speak for those numbers directly, but yeah, it was running through the hospitals, or through the Department of Corrections pretty rampantly with inmates, and then mainly because the staff was bringing it in, and then it spread through that way. It was just, how contagious it was, but they'd quarantine in their cells. It's just kind of like the easiest way to do it was, you stay there. We'll bring you your food. And
so everybody had confinement, not so much solitary confinement, but confinement.
Correct. Yep.
It's like a nursing home almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
They came in from the outside, and then everybody got it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. And that went on for how many months? The nursing homes and food bank we just went for a year and a half.
I actually came on mission with the food bank in what was it, July? And then I came July of 2020, and then it ended in August of 21. That's when I came off orders, August 21.
And you were handing out the food, or you were organizing it? What was your role for that?
Yeah, so I worked with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, and we reported there every day. We worked in the facility, packaging and cooking, recycling, and then we delivered food as well. And then Thursdays we did a mass distribution down in the Muni lot.
Seriously, every Thursday?
Every Thursday, yeah. And we supplied every Thursday roughly, I'd say about 4,000 to 5,000 families came through.
Wow.
11 o'clock till 4 o'clock. So yeah, it was just a big, they signed up, they had an app, or they signed up as they were in line, and they just came through. We had a bunch of points set up, and we were able to just distribute food. They popped their trunk. We give them what we had, and we're allotted for a single family or up to 4 families, and they just drove through. It was a contactless operation, and they came in one end and drove out the other right on the shoreway there.
That's 1,000 meals an hour.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a lot.
It was an undertaking, and so we had Sanson was the civilian distributor. They were partnered with the food bank. They'd bring the trucks down, we'd unload them, we'd set up all the points. All the logistics was done by the National Guard. Like if it wasn't for the Guard and the professionalism from the organization on how to distribute food or transport and set something like that up, it wouldn't have been able to. It wouldn't have happened.
No, not at 1,000 an hour.
Yeah, they tried it at the food bank itself at the site, and it backed up traffic for miles. And the Cleveland police were like, "No more, can't do this anymore. You got to find a spot." And we did that. Rain, sleet, snow, sunshine, hot, cold. If it was Thursday, we were there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So it was a real humbling experience too, working with, because it didn't matter if you were well-to-do and you lost your job or name the circumstance. Every demographic came through. Every person, it didn't matter if you were poor or you were driving a Lincoln. Just you didn't ask, and here's your food, and
was there any really positive story people shared with you when you gave it to them, or was it mostly just thanks and I leave?
Yeah, mainly just the great deal of appreciation, especially just helping your neighbor. People would come through that I didn't have the experience of knowing anybody that came through, but you get to know people every time, because they repeats. They'd come through multiple times through the time we were there, and you actually see the same faces over and over and over again. So you build those small relationships, and just knowing like, hey, I'm just a little down on my luck. This is a boost in my morale. It helps my family, and they couldn't have been any more appreciative of the work we were doing and the service that we were providing. So I think for the most part, everybody was very, very thankful, and it was a very, very fulfilling mission.
Excellent.
For mostly everybody, and even on the guard side too, because you have, every demographic in the guard as well, and they get put on these orders, and it helps them tremendously too, because some people don't have great civilian employment, and the Army provides that. You're guaranteed a paycheck, and if you need help, you have a good support system with your battle buddies, and it was there. And I had multiple times a soldier came to me and they're like, hey, I had a flat tire, I can't pay for a tire, I'd help them out. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I always tell them, if I am able to help you, I will help you in any facet, and don't worry about paying me back. It's if I didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to give it. So just those small little things of and it's come back to help me too, because I need help sometimes, and people are there for me, and maybe not directly people that I've helped, but it's almost like the old adage, do unto others as others do unto you, and it comes back almost threefold, and it's just a great experience. That's why I want to stay in the guard and just help, especially in the Ohio setting.
I'm glad to hear that. So let's fast forward now. So it ends in August of 21, and then you think the pandemic's over, or what did your leadership tell you, that we're done, we're okay now, you don't need you anymore, or what happened?
As we started to transition, so the food bank and everything was FEMA funded. Just trying to give you a little backstory, it got extended, I think 3 or 4 times, because the food banks said, we can't do this without the National Guard, or ODRC said, we can't do this without the National Guard.
Okay.
So FEMA said, okay, we'll extend the funding for another 3 months. So that kept drawing out, not dragging out. It was just drawing it out. And then unfortunately, some of the food banks became reliant on the Guard and not trying to be proactive to get volunteers back. So the leadership, and through our reporting systems, they started to see that. So they're like, okay, we as leaders need to find a way to kind of step back, talk to the food banks, and start to work a plan to come off this mission. We're not going to leave you high and dry. That's not our intent. Our intent is to help you where you need help, and then draw back in the sections where you can start bringing volunteers in, so we can do that left seat, right seat ride, to help you transition from not having the good support help anymore, back to volunteers and back to like a normal setting.
So it happens in the country, sure. It's like the same thing for the country, you go in, you help stabilize it, and then they got to support themselves, and you leave.
Yeah. So it worked out pretty well. It was a little bit of a struggle in the beginning, because they're like, man, this is happening a little. It's like ripping the Band-Aid off. It's like it hurts for a second, and then it's okay. So they continued to do the Thursday distributions, and then we came back and helped a few times, just on our own civilian accord, and just because to help the volunteers with the flow of traffic and stuff like that, and the whole operation logistics part of it. So it was a good transition. But like I said, it was like ripping a Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
So.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now from when did you start? When the second wave started to hit? what was so from August to whenever, what were you guys doing as a guard?
Okay, so with the guard, we went back to like a traditional guard setting. And then, the vaccine mandates started to come out with, soldiers having to become vaccinated. Luckily, I had already been vaccinated, so it kind of didn't affect me. But kind of like the civilian population, like they're like, I may not want to get vaccinated, it's still up in the air. But we went back to a traditional guard setting where we drilled 1 week in a month, and haven't really got to the 2 weeks in the summer yet. So after August, we got kind of through the winter month, and then now here we are, December. I get put on orders again to go into the hospitals. So it felt like, yeah, things are going to transition, and we're going to come out of this. A lot of people are vaccinated, and COVID's on the downward slide. And then the new variant came out, and it was another variant that we didn't know anything about, and people kind of freaked out. The hospitals were getting overrun more with testing. People were flooding the emergency rooms, so they were taking up beds and space for people who were actually sick.
Mm-hmm.
So it was diverting all the resources towards COVID, instead of having those resources there to just triage normal patients. So in December, they said, "Hey, guard, we did these missions in jails. We're gonna now do a non-medical support to the hospitals." So that's when they called us up again in December.
And what was your role then when you went to the hospitals?
The roles in the hospitals. So I went into the headquarters element. So my job I'm still doing it tomorrow to this day. I had today off, luckily, to do my wrestling thing. But so then we rolled into, there's 3 categories. So we did general support was cleaning, so environmental services, food service, and then patient transport were the 3 main categories that non-medical personnel could do.
Okay.
So non-medical meaning like not doctors or medics.
Right.
So we were there as like helping hands, just to support more of the hospital staff that was out with COVID.
Okay.
So, and also to alleviate, like I explained, the emergency rooms and satellite sites, we stood up the testing sites. So they were civilian supported but military run sites. So you might have 1 or 2 civilians overseeing the application, and then all of military were directing traffic, administering the COVID tests, and boxing them, and then shipping them to go get read or to get scanned and tested.
So the logistics for the testing, essentially.
Yep, exactly.
Now, you were overseeing your group then again, or were you in the hospital itself?
Overseeing the group again, and then we did site visits, and same thing, just like the ODRC, getting almost 1,000 soldiers into hospitals in less than a week. So we oversaw that operation from out of Brook Park in the Northeast Ohio region. There's 23 altogether now, but it was about 12 at the time.
Wow.
So our services grew. But yeah, getting those people from Columbus to the initial in process to Brook Park to put them into 10-man teams and then push them out to hospitals. In about a week, we had about it was just under 1,000 personnel working in our area.
Now, how did when you're looking at the personnel from the hospital, how they received you guys when you came in?
the hospital staff was, again, just elated to have us. You know, they I don't know if you've seen some news articles or you know, blurbs on the
I have not.
evening news, but yeah, you know, you get a welcome party. You know, they like here I can speak at Metro. They gave them, you know, a food allowance, and they said, hey, we're happy to have you. You know, we just overwhelmingly supportive. And how minor or minuscule the task might have been, you know, just emptying the trash can. My wife is a surgical ICU nurse, and we directly helped her. She's at Cleveland Clinic, and that was one of the systems we were in. And she's like, you don't understand those small tasks that we don't have to do gives us more time to concentrate and be with the patient, because we don't have to clean the room, we don't have to take the trash out, we don't have to make the beds, you know, it's just simple stuff. Get a room ready for a patient. Those are things that take away from the physical contact with another patient for better care.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was the overall benefit, was allowing the direct medical staff to be with the patients and give them, you know, the care that they deserve.
Now, how do the patients or people, the visitors to the hospital, when they see you guys in the uniform, walk around the hallways, how they react to that?
The reaction was not a big reaction. Like, you know, they'd want to shake your hands, you know, but you're there, you're behind the scenes. You weren't, you know, you're there, you're doing a job, and they were there to see their family member, or and in small increments too, because you know, they're only allowed one visitor, so the hospitals really weren't busy with the actual visitors. But when they did come through, you know, it was the same thing, just very appreciative to the soldiers. I don't know of any instance that any negative instance really of anyone seeing a soldier in uniform, like a police type setting, because we did the riots before, you know, the civil unrest. We did that as well, and even then, Dr. Shoup was the guard was perceived better than the police departments, and I can't exactly explain that. I don't know why, but it was like it was just a good thing.
You know, we bring it up because I wonder, when a visitor sees people in uniform and they don't know the reason behind it, it makes it seem a lot more official. And it makes them realize, holy cow, this is a you know, this COVID thing is real. They know it's real because of the loved ones in the hospital. But when they see the guard, people in uniform working in a hospital, it has to reinforce the fact that this is really big because the government's involved in it in this way.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think it brought a sense of maybe a sense of reassurance too, that hey, you know, we have a lot of avenues as a society to help people, and it's not a traditional role for the service to be in a hospital or be in a civilian setting, you know, working directly with civilians. Traditionally, I say. Now we have it's Defense Support of Civil Authority. That's a traditional role for a guardsman, you know, riots and some civil unrest or what have you. But to be pulled in and do just a civilian job, like I'm a combat engineer and I'm a construction engineer. I never in a million years thought I would be called up to help support cooking in a hospital, or cleaning rooms in a hospital, or being a corrections officer in a jail. But masters of the jack of all, master of none is an engineer, I guess.
But the positive of that is, one thing is, you know how to follow orders, but you also know how to handle things in a crisis.
Yeah.
You're taught to do that, and you're taught to handle it. You're taught to focus on the assignment and the mission, whereas civilians are not.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things you guys are good at, there's three things that I was told by a lieutenant years ago that separate you guys from civilians. The first thing is, you know how to work together for the common goal, whether you like the person or not. We don't know how to do that, which is why I point fingers at people and blame everybody else, and Washington's a big mess. And the second one is that we make decisions, you guys make decisions that allow you to be self-reliant. We don't do that. Civilians just fail and wait for the bailout. And the last one is how to work together for and how to put yourself second and the mission first. Civilians don't know how to do that. So those three things you're taught how to do, and you know the benefits of it. You work together on that, and you see the results live in action. We don't know that. And so when it comes to a crisis, you guys are much more prepared to handle it than we are.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you put that very well. And I think a lot of times with good leadership, you do it without even knowing you're doing it. You're putting the mission first and soldiers first, and you're taking care of yourself, but it's a secondary action. And it's good, like you explained it very well. When we put this uniform on, like, we're green. We don't see red. We don't see blue. We don't care color. It's, hey, mission first. We're here to do a job, get the job done, and then we'll focus on other things.
Exactly. So the hospitals. So you still there now? You still doing the hospital situation, or what are you doing now?
Yes. Yep. Still on orders. I think I can't speak directly, but it's supposed to run until April 1st. Whether or not we're starting to offer soldiers now, it's starting to wean back. And the hard line was when a hospital went back to doing elective surgeries. That was the governor and the tags, the adjutant general. It was his line in the sand to say, hey, when you go back to elective surgeries, that tells us that you don't need soldier support anymore. Right. You guys are doing okay. And that was agreed upon. And I think a lot of people are going back to that. A lot of so we're off-ramping a lot of soldiers.
So that's your marker then?
Correct. Okay.
All right. I'd like to interview your wife if she's okay with that, because that'd be, to have a surgical ICU nurse and a COVID, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I could.
Not now, but just ask her.
If it's something you want to do, absolutely. And here's the great thing too. She was a medic in the Guard.
Oh my gosh, even better. That's even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's even better. So if we could, because I had an ICU nurse in Columbia, New York, Columbia Hospital in New York, in the first set, and it was just amazing when she discussed how many tracheotomies she had to make, and all the patients who had trachs in them. I mean, what do you do with them all? You had hundreds of people with trachs. This is in January of 21. It was just crazy. So what?
She has a cool story too, because it was she was in nursing school when a lot of this popped off. She has her master's in public health, and she just decided to become a nurse, surgical ICU nurse. She's like, I want to do this. So yeah, it's just kind of a neat perspective too, like to be in school while all this is going on.
Exactly.
Go virtual and then become a nurse and then deal with it directly. So.
Exactly. So you're looking at a time frame, let's say sometime by spring. You think that this will wind down and you'll be back to your 2 weeks a week, every other weekend and so on and so forth?
Correct.
Okay. All right. What was the most unusual thing that you did in the hospitals?
The most unusual thing that's being done in the hospitals?
That you had to yourself personally do?
So I wasn't directly in the hospitals. I would do site visits. I'm a senior leader, so
okay.
I directed people to each location and set them up with points of contact, and then to get them kicked off on doing the actual job that they were assigned to do. So I was never assigned to a specific system to do a specific job.
Okay, so let's compare now. The same person, if this is possible, the same person who went for the to the prisons, and they went to the hospitals. How they react to those two?
How did the soldier react to
Yeah,
the
same
different
person.
missions?
Yeah, same person. Give me one example from the hospital to the prison system.
Of a reaction?
Yeah. Do you have a story of one person who did both?
I mean, there's multiple people. Yeah, we'll say Sergeant Warner was one that did both. She she like you explained, she was in the prison systems and she did the job. She did it well. And then came around to this. They offered her a position, and then came back, traditional guardsman, then back to this mission, and now working in the hospital down by Dover, Ohio, and is offered a position there, and is actually taking a job at,
Really?
at the hospital system. Yeah.
Wow. It's a great way for the hospitals to recruit.
It is.
You know,
and I think like a lot of this too, especially the ODRC mission, was a big recruiting mission. I think because of the shortage of staff, it coincided with, hey, we can recruit a lot of soldiers to maybe be officers here. So, and some did. Those were good stories of employment and giving back.
So we know when the food bank ended, they drew a line for that because they realized that they're being dependent upon it. There's a line for the hospitals. What was the line for to end the work for the DRC?
I think they drew the line on funding because that was state run. That was so we have different sets of orders that funding is directly correlated to. So when FEMA funds something, that comes from that's a federal dollar,
right?
And then when the state funds something, that's obviously from Ohio. So the state was funding us to do the corrections mission, because that was a report from the director of ODRC to the governor to say, hey, we need help. So as a state, we helped the corrections facilities, and then I think it was just like, hey, we're running out of money. We just can't pay soldiers to be in this setting much longer. Now with these missions, they're kind of, it's funding too. There's a hard line that it's only set up for so long, but the need, I think, is a little more drastic, and they asked for those federal dollars, and they were able to take it out a little further. And I think there's a little more a better planning that went into it, and it was easier to draw that line in the sand when the hospital is asking for support, when they were taken away from elective surgeries,
right,
to focus on just dealing with patients. And then when they freed all that back up, it was like, okay, we no longer need this support. So I think it was just an easier line to draw when it came to the mission. And then it was, okay, we no longer have the money to support this, so we have to kick these soldiers out. And I think it might have asked for federal dollars, but I think it was at a point where the weather started to turn. It was better, and COVID kind of settled down.
So and
also people were being vaccinated at the same time. So once people started getting vaccinated, they felt like the need wasn't there with the contact tracing and all that stuff.
Okay.
That's when all that started rolling out with the vaccines.
Was there a Band-Aid moment for the prison system?
Just the funding.
But how do they react to it when you said you're leaving? How do they react to it?
Same. It was, man, I hate to see you go. We want to offer you jobs. We want you to be here. Thanks for all your support. And the request went up to keep us longer, just because the soldiers, again, they knocked it out of the park. They went in there. They did a great job, and they couldn't ask for a better group of people.
I would, there had to be a shock to the supervisors there when they see well-disciplined group of people
Uh-huh.
who love what they do and come in there and do better than what people normally do when they're there. And the
Yeah.
supervisors miss that. I mean,
Well,
I wonder if it
so
changed.
we do after action reviews, and it's just a hot wash of, hey, what was the mission, what was supposed to happen, and what actually happened, and what are give us some sustains, like what can we do in this mission to continue to do well, and then what can we improve on. And a lot of the times it was the sustainments were soldiers and the civilian staff. The professionalism is there. Like we are professionals. We went in there, we did a job, and the civilian counterparts would scatter.
Wow.
And that was the sustainment was, hey, we're doing a great job. We're going to continue to do great things. And the improve was, hey, when we go in there, we feel like we're taken advantage of, because one soldier can do the work of, two or three of the civilian staff. And we were getting complaints that, hey, you're doing too much. You're cleaning these rooms.
Exactly.
Too well.
You make us look bad.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, but they're like, you're not being productive. And like, no, you're being overproductive by cleaning the room too well. You're not cleaning the 20 rooms. You're only cleaning 10 rooms, and you need to clean 10. You see where I'm getting with that. And so that was kind of a hard thing to work around. But they just go in and you hustle, you do a good job, you get it done, and then you're like, what's next? Give me something more.
Exactly. How do the inmates react to the guard? And when the guard was there, the inmates react differently, I wonder? More respect?
They'd call, yeah, they gave them more respect. It's kind of the same instance with the civil unrest. They treated a soldier with a different respect than they treated a corrections officer or a police officer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me, and I wonder, when you guys left, what was the reaction from the inmates then?
I can't speak to that. I could ask, but it was. I think it was probably like, oh, they don't have the support of the military anymore. We can maybe revert back to
exactly
what we were doing before. A little more disrespectful and
get away with it.
And get away with it.
Exactly. Wow. What would you like to, when you're looking at when the pandemic is going to be done and whenever it ends, what would you like to hear, or what would you like to have the person who hears the story, what would you like them to hear from you as far as what you did and how you did it and so on and so forth, and how it impacted you?
What my biggest thing to convey is just how much is sacrificed by the soldier. Like for example, I haven't been able to coach this whole time. I started something that I wasn't able to be there, and it's people stepped in and they helped and they understand my circumstance, but the amount of sacrifice that goes in as a civilian soldier to do a mission like this, or to be displaced in the state that they live in and live out of a hotel. So just the understanding of the sacrifice that an individual gives up, family members, the hardships with school, the hardship with taking care of, young children, elderly families, the going into a COVID environment, specific COVID environment, and not wanting to bring that home to a family member. So they decide to stay in a hotel and displace themselves selflessly so they don't get their family sick.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is just the sacrifice and the amount of work that goes into moving soldiers and making sure that they're taken care of. it's an undertaking, and just how professional the Army is. And you know, I can't speak well enough for the soldiers that we have, and the organization that we built, and I don't want to see it get ruined. So I think the biggest thing is just the sacrifice that goes into being a service member in any setting.
Yeah, you're service member 24/7. You're not just a 9 to 5.
Correct.
You know, you're a soldier 24/7. So, what I like to do, Sergeant, is if you can give me somebody who worked in the hospital directly and someone who worked in the prison directly, just to do the same thing with them, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
And then your wife, that'd be fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, I will talk to them. I'll tell them, you know, exactly how we did this, just a quick sit down. And then I will get you one that Warner, Sergeant Warner. Female.
Perfect.
She worked in both, and then I'll get you my wife, and then one more.
That'd be fantastic.
I'll try to get as many as possible. I put the note out at drill, and I had a couple takers, and then I thought I emailed you some names. It's been a while. I
didn't see anything, so that's why I emailed you back. But it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out.
And tell them it's not a debriefing, okay?
What's that?
Tell them it's not a debriefing. They don't have to prepare for it. But I'm not going to debrief them on anything.
No, yeah.
So
absolutely.
there's nobody. You don't have to prepare for it. It's just a conversation. That's all.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, I'll do that. I'll talk to my wife. I'm actually gonna go down and finish cooking dinner with her. And
perfect.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I'll keep you in touch as far as we progress through this.
Mm-hmm.
The students are working on I've interviewed about 30 people so far.
Mm-hmm.
So students are getting the artwork. As soon as they're getting the stories, as soon as I get the story done, which is like within a day, then they get the stories. I'll let you know how things progress. Looking at May for an unveiling. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll let you know what day that it's going to be.
Yeah, great. Well, hopefully I was able to give you some good information.
You did. Absolutely, you did.
We can work through this thing, and I'll get you those names. And I really gratefully appreciate your support as well. As much as people say, hey, thank you. No, thank you, because I wouldn't do it without the support that my wife and family and friends and people I don't even know give us. So my hat's off to you as well.
Well, I'll tell you something. It's that our teachers and the students, because I just listen and I push a button.
Mm-hmm.
So when the student unveils the artwork in front of you, then you can surely thank them, because they're the ones who listened to it and did some effort to it. So, but I thank you for that, though. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. All right, First Sergeant.
All right, Doc. I appreciate it.
We'll be in touch.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.